Carver and his remaining henchmen had taken their captured prisoners back down the hill to a storage truck that they have driven there. They loaded their prisoners onto the back with their hands bound together and began to drive back to his community of Carvers. Inside, everyone was silent with sad expressions across their faces, as many of their friends just lost. First, Nick was killed by a walker, Alvin was shot by Carver, and Walter was executed by Carver. Everyone was silent until Lily had finally decided to speak up, with a determined expression on her face. Are we all just going to sit there and let them take us? Well, what can we do? Lee inquired. He was seated between Carly and Clementine. They took all of our weapons and are locked in the back of this frickin' truck. You expect us to break out of there? No, I don't expect us to sit there and do nothing, Lily replied, standing up and proceeded to head over towards the front of the truck where the cab was on the other side. Lily, sit down, Carlos demanded, but his words did not get through her. Lily angrily hanged her hands above the cab of the truck and screaming as loud as she could to attention. Hey, let us out! Hey! Shut the hell up in there, one of Carver's henchmen, Troy, had ordered. Lily, just sit down, Rebecca told her. You already cost 2 of our people, and I'm pretty sure you don't want to lose anyone else. And what the hell is that supposed to mean? Lily asked, while she sat back down where sitting before. Because of you, we lost Alvin and Walter, Carly reminded her, with an angry expression rose across her face when she blamed most of this on Lily. What did you say? Lily inquired, wanting to make sure what she just heard out of her old friend was correct. How is this my fault? If your group never came to our ski lodge, then maybe that Carver bastard wouldn't have taken us. And because of you, Walter and Alvin are dead, Carlos scolded her. You shot 2 of his henchmen, which results in killing him, Walter. And when you shot Carver, he was clearly holding Alvin as a hostage. You must learn regarding that intent. And these are the consequences to rash actions. And is that something you are seeming to misreading, a capulation? Clementine, who seemed to be keeping silent during this argument, decided to speak up and defend Lily from judgment. No, it wasn't Lily's fault. It was mine. I told her to shoot. Lily was surprised at Clementine. The young girl that once feared her have now had the nerves to defend her from the rest of them. But she didn't have it in her heart to tell her to blame on the little girl that she used to take care of back at the motor inn. No, Clementine, it wasn't your fault. I was the one who pulled the trigger, and that makes me responsible. Clementine merely nodded in response and sat between her adoptive parents. Lily shifted her attention back towards Carlos, who had no idea what he all meant by fancy talk. But she sure felt really annoyed by that they would all put the dare and blame on her. Now as for you, Carlos, excuse me for trying to save my people. Maybe next time I will just leave and run away, like your friend Luke did. What? Carlos was in denial of what she just said. Luke ran away? Lily was about to answer with a lie, but she decided that it was not the right thing to do at the moment. She leaned back against the cold hard metal of the truck and sighed. No, we got separated in our way to the transformer by walkers. I don't know what happened to him, Carlos. I don't think Luke was ever one to run, Lee admitted, although he had only known them for a short time. He could tell Luke was no coward and would never abandon his friends. Who knows? Maybe he's following us as we speak. He does remember where his community is, right? Carly asked Carlos, which assumed he was the leader of their group. Yes, of course he does, Carlos assured. Luke is very familiar with these woods and knows his way around. If he is still alive, he should be able to find us. But until then, we need to be careful. This Carver guy, why are you all scared of him so much? Lee inquired. He just seems like another random bandit to me. Carlos was surprised too when Lee had just told him that he wanted to yell at him. But how would that do good? He would not exactly be able to defend himself of his broken fingers if Lee were to attack them. He was aware that he was new to the group and they had yet to tell them about Carver. You had no idea what it's like. William Carver is a very dangerous man, Lee. You have no idea who you're dealing with. He's smart, he has an army, and he wants to punish us for leaving, Rebecca said, her being the most worried due to the possible fact that her baby being Carver's, as well as her own. He's worse than walkers. Lee still did not see why they feared him so much compared to what's out there nowadays. He would have had to wait and see. But in the meantime, you try to assure them everything will be fine. Look, guys, before we met you, me, Carly, Clementine, Lily, had saw a few things you wouldn't imagine. Walkers tried to get away from us. These cannibals who took their farm and cut our friends' legs and tried to feed them to us. Our home was attacked by bandits, and we avoided death more times than we could ever remember. Maybe, but have you had weapons then? Did you not? Carlos inquired. Not all the time. Sometimes I had to rely on my own strength, like what I had to get through, like the cannibals at the farm, Lee admitted. But then he had the courage to prepare for whatever Carver had to offer. Look, obviously he wants us alive, or else he could have just killed us and then go. We go in there, observe the place, and then get the hell out of here. You guys escaped once, right? Yes, but Carver's more than likely to seal off the areas we got out last time, Carlos admitted, as he turned towards his daughter, who was crying in sadness after being confronted by Rebecca. We'll just have to wait and see. The truck they had suddenly brought to a complete halt. Troy then could be heard complaining that the cab of the truck were inside. Frickin' brakes ain't working again. I swear to God, you could have broken my door, Carver warned. A couple of moments later, the truck had halted to a complete stop, followed by the back door of the truck opening. Standing outside were Bonnie, Troy, and another of Carver's men, an African-American woman, who was quite fat for her size, and looked around her middle-30s. She had an afro and a headband around her forehead. She wore a dark yellow-brown jacket with blue jeans. Just like her allies, she was armed with an AK-47. All right, up and at 'em. None of them wanted to cause any trouble, at least. They obeyed. Everyone followed the guests right through the community, while Carver was in his office, making an announcement via speakers for the entire building. We've got some familiar faces back with us tonight. Now, I understand some of you are confused as to why we bring these people back when they left us when they did. I think I've got a pretty good idea, Rebecca admitted. It may not have come to it all once, but the time these heals wounds, be so patient with them until it does. So it takes some solstice in knowing what they are there to help and make her home a better place. Everyone was in charge of the area, and they had more guards patrolling the area. On the side were some shelves of stocked food. Lee and a couple of others took above that they see Carver in the manager's office through the window, speaking into a microphone. All these feelings you have, of anger, betrayal, hate, they're all valid. No one needs to forget what they did, but we have to find in our hearts to forgive them. I can't believe how much food they have, Clementine admitted, staring over the food beside her. Just keep walking, Clementine, Lee instructed her as he stood behind her. As many of you all know, a large herd of lurkers is just gathered south of us. Troy shifted his attention over towards Carlos and moved him over towards when they need him a favor. Come on, Doc. We need you for something. Why can't it wait till morning, Troy? Carlos asked. He was too tired from all the walking, and after he was brutally beaten by Carver, and to top it off, he had no use of his 2 fingers at the moment, other than the reason for his excuse was to wish to not leave Sarah, especially in this place. We're all exhausted. Just come on, will ya? Troy demanded. Sarah began to panic and stopped when seeing her dad getting separated from her, fearing that she could not survive there without him to protect her. Please, I need my daddy. I can't. He looks after me. Troy did not care to her son plea like a cold-hearted man he was. Instead, he nodded his head in correction where everyone else in the group was. Carly placed a tied to give her hands on Sarah's shoulder, escorted her away, acted somewhat of a motherly figure to her. Come on, Sarah. It's okay. We need to go. But my dad, Sarah panicked. He'll be back, Clementine assured her new best friend. When? Sarah inquired. I don't know, but he will come back, Clementine assured her. Sarah was still nervous to be here without her father, but was grateful to find a friend like Clementine to take care of her, despite the fact that Clementine was way younger. And with the added manpower joining us this evening, I have no doubt we will continue to... Bonnie knelt down to the security shutter that would lead them to an area called the Yard, where Carver sounds to those who need to work their way back to his community. She unlocked them with the keys. Although Bonnie was their enemy, she did give him a little friendly warning that they may want to take into consideration. Make sure you all stay off the fence. Bill can see if you're messing with it. Clementine turned around for a moment and looked behind to see Troy and to see Carver watching them from the manager's office while continuing his announcement. She was soon turned around by Lee and escorted to the yard. Come on, Clementine. It's no longer enough to survive. This is our obligation to make this community a beacon of hope, to provide light, a bright light, bright enough to shine all this darkness, so that will do. Carver finished his announcement and turned off the speakers. Once the remaining survivors were inside the yard, a few of them had begun to observe the place, as it was to find a way out, via security shutters. The fences were boarded up with barbed wire on top, and there were stairs stacked in the circle in the fire to keep them warm. The bunk beds were them to sleep on. It did not look like the greatest place for them to be sleeping in, but it was better than being out there with the walkers. I suggest you all get a rest, because there's going to not be much rest for you tomorrow, Troy suggested, as Bonnie, who was standing beside him, untied everyone's restraints. You're all going to be working your asses off. Rebecca, that's bed's for you, Bonnie said, while gesturing her towards the most comfortable bed in the area they were in. Yeah, of course it would be, Rebecca admitted, folding her arms together as she stayed by the bed they would be sleeping on. Frickin' Bill. I'm carrying his child and he decides to keep me out of the cold. Well, at least I'll be in a more comfortable bed. Hey, guys? Rebecca shifted her attention towards a familiar voice, unable to imagine if their eyes were playing tricks when she saw someone she could have sworn was dead. Reggie? I thought you were... Reggie, better known as Reggie from his friends, was a man in his middle 30s. He was technically a Pakistan American, and he had black hair all around the back and the sides of his head, but at the top of his head was bald. He had a short black facial hairs, and he wore a light blue shirt with beige hunting vest over it and dark navy jeans. Everyone was in shock. His left arm was missing, possibly amputated from being bitten by a walker, or it could have been punishment for what he did in the past. Rebecca moved closer to him and embraced him into a hug. He returned it with his one arm. I'm so sorry. What did Carver do to you? She noticed his arm missing, could only presume it was Carver who did this to him. I can't believe. Trust me, this could have been a lot worse. I thought I was done for, but I'm lucky to be alive, Reggie admitted, not seeming too affected by his one arm. I suppose I could say it's nice to meet you all, but that's all I can really say, really. He rubbed the back of his head with one hand. Not too far from where the rest of the group was, Lee and Carly were standing together and listening to the conversation between this Reggie person. Clementine and Sarah were doing the same, but stood a couple feet away from the adults. Reggie helped us, Sarah declared. When we ran away, he helped us escape this place. I wish he could have come with us, though. Clementine stared towards this new man and could not help but share the amputated arm. She'd never seen anyone with a missing part of their body, and it kind of crept her out. What happened to his arm, Sarah? I don't know, Sarah admitted. She could have sworn that he had both his arms the last time she saw him. When we were running together, he fell, and everyone else kept running. I don't know, he had both of his arms back then. He might have lost it. Clementine stared at her with a puzzled look of expression. How on earth can you lose one arm? Lee, Carly, and Clementine continued to listen in, as Reggie, who is now explaining his new friends about the story about his arm and why he had to amputate it. I was working outside one day, and a lurker snuck up behind me. I was hammering something down. Luckily, I worked and took the arm off quickly. It saved my life. He was able to raise a slight smile across his face. That's awful. I'm so sorry, Rebecca apologized for the second time. Look, don't worry about it. It was my choice, and my choice is to help you guys, Reggie reassured them, not wanting to feel any guilty for the loss of his arm. Hey, Reggie, Troy finally spoken up after he and Bonnie were silent as they guarded the area. Oh, Troy, what's up? Reggie nervously inquired, still having a fear of him due to the fact that he was so eager to get back into Carver's group officially. But with his friends returning, that might be a little difficult. Don't go messing up now. These new people are here, Troy warned in a harsh tone. You know Bill's real close to letting you back onto the ground. And tell you what, if you make sure things stay nice and quiet out here tonight, I'll be sure to let Bill know how helpful you were and you are useful. A smile raised on Reggie's face when he realized his friends might be back in his perfect community opportunity to get back into the group officially. Oh yeah, don't worry about the thing. You can count on me. Thanks, Troy. Don't mention it, Troy requested, turning around and marching his way out of the yard. Bonnie followed the suit like they were soldiers, and two exited out of the area together, locking the security shutters behind them. Once they were gone, Rebecca shifted his attention to the others, who had been silent since they arrived. She decided it was time to introduce her new friend to her old friend. Oh yeah, Reggie, let me introduce to our new friends, and who are with us when we got caught. Reggie then walked a little closer to the new faces, introduced himself kindly. Hey there, my name's Reggie. That's Sarita. Rebecca introduced him to Sarita, who had been quiet during their arrival. Hello, Sarita quickly greeted them in return. That's Lily. Hi, Lily greeted, as she folded her arms together, with a normal expression across her face. That's Lee. Hey, Lee greeted, offering a handshake to his face to Reggie, who returned in a friendly manner. Even Lee was able to raise a smile across his face. And that's Carly, Rebecca finished. Hi, Carly smiled, placing both of her hands in the pockets of her jacket. Reggie shifted his attention towards the right side of Lee and the young girl with the hat. He had yet to meet her. Hello, who are you, then? He noticed, sharing that his arm where it used to be. The arm freaks you out, huh? Clem, you know it's not nice to stare, Lee requested in a kind tone, not wanting to make her first impression seem rude. No, don't worry, it's okay, Lee, Reggie reassured. It sometimes freaks me out, too. Clementine would tell this man that was nice just looking at him. It felt comfortable to introduce herself towards him. After all, everyone else did. I'm Clementine. It's a pleasure to meet you, Clementine, Reggie replied, offering a handshake with one hand, and Clementine gladly accepted it. He let go of her hand and noticed a few members of their group were unaccounted for. Where's Carlos? Bill's already got him treating some folks, Rebecca answered. Oh God, okay. Reggie smiled. What about Pete, Nick, and Alvin? He could tell by their expressions that their names had been said, mentioned they had passed on. Reggie felt a little saddened by the news, and just taken in a wish not to ask. I'm sorry, Pete was a good man. Nick, well, I expected this to happen after how reckless he was, but he was still a good person. Alvin was a great guy too. I'm sorry, you guys. Can we save it for the morning? A grumpy voice on the other room requested. Everyone shifted their attention towards over the location where the voice was coming from. An African-American man in his middle 20s, and he had close-shaved haircut and a slight beard, wearing a gray hoodie and blue jeans. And despite their distance from them, he was missing a chunk out of his left ear. Some of us got up early, he said. Sorry, Lee apologized, loud enough for the tone for him to hear. Sorry about that, Mike, Reggie apologized to the man, who now turned his back to them and placed them on the pillow in an attempt to block out their voices. Reggie shifted his attention back towards the others. That's Mike, I won't lie. He's kind of a grouch when he's tired, but he was the one who saved my life, so I put up with that shit. Bill put him together to work with me outside of the walls. Reggie, I'm so sorry, Rebecca apologized, yet again still feeling the entire incident was partially her fault. Clementine folded her arms together while everyone else continued speaking with Reggie. She shifted her attention over towards the other side of the room. There was a woman sitting on the wooden bench, merely staring at them. She looked a Caucasian American, and she looked either in her late teenage years or middle 20s. She had extremely short hair with the dirt smeared across her face, wore a yellow jacket with bluish jeans. Please stop with all the story, Reggie requested. It was my choice to help, remember? Besides, he said you were once caught, and he let me rejoin the group, so I'm glad you're here. I'm just joking, I'm glad, but I'm sure you guys didn't want to be brought back here. I know what you mean, Reggie, Rebecca replied, believing that her old friend still had some previous humor left in him. He did say that, but I'm not happy about it, Reggie admitted it, rubbing the back of his neck for a moment. It was probably bullshit, but I gotta take my chances if I want to get back into the group. Reggie, I don't see why you want to get back in this group, Carly admitted, as she took her hands out of her pockets. This place is a prison, and Carver is crazy. Prison? Reggie chuckled. This place is not a prison. I know it seems like a prison, but this place ain't that bad, Reggie assured. Clementine continued to stare at the girl for a moment, feeling slightly uncomfortable with her constant staring. Who is she? She inquired towards Reggie. Who's who? Reggie shifted his attention towards the opposite side of the door, who he happened to be referring to. The girl over there. The unnamed girl got out of the bench and made her way over to the bed to get some sleep for tonight. Oh yeah, right. Reggie then knew who she was referring to and shifted his attention back towards Clementine. Okay, she's so freaking weird. They found her sneaking around outside the camp covered in guts and just the grossest stuff. Her name's Jane, I think. It's probably best not to stare, Rebecca told Clementine, who continued staring at the unknown woman. I know it must take every one of you, but I assure you, it's not really bad here, Reggie reassured them, with a supportive grin across his face. Reggie, Rebecca sighed. No, I'm serious, Reggie reassured them. Where else are you going to find food like we have? Where else are you going to find safety like we have? This community is getting more and more secure all the time. They even got the solar panels working. When's the last time you have electricity, huh? That was not hard to answer the question, and Sarah was the one to speak up. Well, we were just in a ski lodge with a wind turbine, and it had electricity and food. All right, point taken, but it's not a competition, Reggie replied, still trying to convince them that this community was a gift to them all. I'm just saying it's not as bad as you think. We are making something great here. It's a real community. Bill, Tavia, Troy, and a few others are making it happen. Lee and Clementine ran towards each other for a moment, both looking at them. What the saying is this guy out of his mind? Carver killed our friend Walter, Clementine spoke up. Reggie's face turned into sadly, of somewhat of a shocked expression, leaving him silent for a few moments. Okay, that does sound shocking, but maybe Bill had his reasons. Had his reasons? Are you crazy? He freaking kidnapped us, and he pulled us here like prisoners, Lee shouted, curling his hand into a fist and wanted to punch the man, but was held back by Carly and Clementine. He is a crazy piece of shit that deserves to die, Lily judged him. Listen, guys, I'm extremely getting close to laying back in the group. If that does happen, I could do a lot more to help you guys be more comfortable here, Reggie reassured them. But deep down, he feared that these new people were going to ruin his chances of getting out of this yard anytime soon. I've worked extremely hard to get to this point. Will you please just behave and try not to cause any trouble? Until they release me at least? Then once I'm out, I can help you more. Maybe even help you get out. Lee did not wish to get Reggie in trouble, despite the fact that he didn't want to be a part of Carver's group. But where are the chances that he could be scared? Alright, we won't get you in trouble, but that doesn't mean we force ourselves into it like we like it here. Thanks, guys, Reggie thanked. I'm so glad to hear you say that. I was worried for a moment. Well, if Carver's such a great guy, I'm sure you got nothing to worry about, Lily replied as she placed a hand onto her hip. Well, we can at least talk about it more in the morning. Just have a quiet night and chat tomorrow, Reggie suggested. I can't believe what I'm hearing, Rebecca admitted it, shocked to see a surprise from her old friend was saying. Reggie, Dad, son of a bitch, killed Alvin, my husband, and you think we should stay here? Rebecca, please, if you work with me here, Carver can all give us a second chance, Reggie explained. His words did not seem to convince them. Reggie, I don't want a second chance, Rebecca told him, wanting nothing more to do than to get out of there with her friend. I want to leave with my family, that's it. She gasped when she felt her baby kick harder as usual, placed both her hands on against her stomach. I need to sit down. Your family's safe here, Rebecca, Reggie reassured. Going out there is risky. It's better to stay here. Sarita walked over towards Rebecca to help her sit down before she got even more pains in her stomach. Come on, Rebecca. Sarah, can you go see if there's something for her to drink? Okay, Sarah agreed. There is some water over by the benches, Reggie reassured, watching the trio walk over to the other side of the room. That didn't go as planned. Should have actually made a plan. Most of the group made their way over to the small pit in the middle of the yard, with the chairs lined up in the circle with the fire in the middle. Lee merely glared at him and folded his arms together, shocked about this man hearing all the stuff that he spoke about this place being great. But, of course. Man, I don't even think we could trust him. I don't know what he's been drinking, but everything he says is just a lie. I think he's just scared, Clementine admitted. Everybody's scared, Clementine, Lee reminded her. It doesn't think it's an excuse to sound like a crazy man, but we need to look around. Lee began walking off in a random direction. Clementine caught up to him and walked off into another part of the room. As for Carly, she stayed with the rest of the group near the fire pit. We got to know if there's anything we can use to get out of here, Lee told Clementine, wanting to get a move on to find an escape plan. We're in a bad place, and we need to find something to get us out of here. Well, what should we look for? Clementine inquired, stopping at the same time as Lee stopped. Lee turned his back towards the shutters, as if to make a note that there was no guards outside. The only thing we have to worry about now is Reggie. That Troy bastard has gone now, and this is our chance. Look around and see if you could find something to get us out of here. I will distract Reggie. The first thing she did was to go in investigation was to speak to Mike, who had requested to be asleep for the night. She approached him in an attempt to greet him. Hello? The man did lean up against his head, but his tone did not sound charming. Get lost. Will you please talk to me? No, get lost. I just need to go. She then gave up on him and approached Jane, who had been staring at them earlier. She was now lying on the ground with her head resting against her arm. Why would she be sleeping there when there are clearly multiple bunk beds for them to sleep on? The girl had suddenly leaned her head against the glare towards Clementine, startling her that caused her to jump in fear. Clementine backed away from her and allowed her to sleep peacefully. Clementine continued her investigation while her guardian distracted Reggie from her. Hopefully, that would get her out as soon as possible. Who knows what Carver has planned for them? But one thing's for certain is that it will not end well.